So we plan to have my friend Brianna Williams on, but she has some connectivity issues, so unfortunately she's not going to be able to join this time. But lucky for y'all, lawyers know a ton of other lawyers. So I've got my friend Lex Gonzalez who's going to be joining us. Oh, here we go. Lex is a lawyer and a compliance officer for Fortune 500 company Wells Fargo. She's dope, and she's going to be helping me answer some of these questions and be live. Yay!
Hi, girl.
So, guys, this is my friend Lex Gonzalez, and it looks like I missed one of the Z's in your in your
Really?
Instagram name.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pinned down below. So just know if you look on Lex's page, it's Lex Gonzalez with three Z's on the end. But I'm so excited that she's joining us this morning because you guys had a ton of like legal related questions, and some of them are really, really good questions. So Lex, do you want to talk about what you do with Wells Fargo, and then we can jump into the questions?
Yeah. Hey, guys. So I'm Alexis Gonzalez. Most people just call me Lex, so that's what you'll hear a lot. So currently I work for Wells Fargo. I am a North Carolina licensed attorney, but I kind of went a different route and did what's called an alternative legal career. And I'm now working in compliance, making sure that our legal departments and internal audit departments follow the law. So I'm a compliance officer now for Wells Fargo, but I'm still a licensed attorney. So a lot of attorneys go the alternate, legal route as a way to just get more knowledge in business and use their legal careers at the same time. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, well, and it's really cool because I think there are so many people that think about going to law school but don't necessarily want to practice in a firm. In fact, that's one of the questions that we got. So I asked you guys to send us in some questions that you have for us. And one of the questions was, is it worth going to law school if you don't want to practice being an attorney in a law firm? What do you think, Lex?
I think these people outside are very loud, so let me close the door. But I think it's still worth it. I mean, I think if you have even like the desire to go to law school, there's probably a part of you that is interested and will be, good at it. And I think that you should allow yourself to learn, all that there is. I think that law school is like not just important for, a career, but for life and
Mhm.
of, the country that we live in. So I think it's still worth it, even if you don't want to practice. There's so many alternative legal careers. Um, I mean, and honestly, I think that business is starting to understand that lawyers are so unique in the way that they're trained in school, their ability to critically think and read and form analysis, and that's really critical in business. So people are really learning to value JDs, even more so or equally as MBAs in the corporate field. So I think it's definitely worth it to give yourself a leg up, in your like during your career and just for life.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've got a ton of people on right now. So Megan Swanson
Yay!
says hi from Miss Nebraska, USA. Hey, girl. Um, and James on here says he lives. I live, sleep, and breathe Miss USA. I've been following you since I was so little. That's awesome.
That's
And there are a lot of
good.
NC people on here, so a little bit more
Yay!
background. Fun fact, so me and Lex originally met because I was competing for my first year in the Miss America organization. And we were both planning on doing this preliminary together. And I don't know how we just like connected on social media
I think it
because
was
like
Facebook.
yeah. And so we've been friends ever since because, I mean, Lex was in law school then. I was in law school too. We were both pageant girls. Lex, when she competed at Miss North Carolina, won overall interview twice. Is that
Twice,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's incredible, and we're so lucky to have her on here. And I agree with your point in that having a JD, especially having some business experience mixed with a JD, is really, really valuable today. So there were a lot of people who asked, who are in undergrad, who are asking questions as they prepare for law school. One of them was, how can I prepare for law school and a legal career while I'm in undergrad? Which is an interesting question because I think it's like kind of hard to. A lot of people think that you have to be like a
Yeah.
pre-law major, and you really don't. Like I wasn't a pre-law
No.
major. Were you?
I was a criminology major. Because I really thought I wanted to be a DA. That was completely wrong.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
but it ended up working out because I liked it so much that I got, excellent, marks. So you know, my GPA was good, and that helped me with applying to law school. So, I mean, there really isn't a major that will get you into school. I mean, it's more about your grades and like what you do while you're there and what you do with it. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I don't even know if my school had a pre-law program. So, well, I don't even know if it was an option for me, but I just made it be what I wanted it to be, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, same. Well, and what's funny is that I remember, so my stepdad is an attorney, and I remember asking him before I went to undergrad, like, what should I major in? And I was like, should I major in pre-law? Is that a thing? And he was like, I don't even know if that's a thing in South Carolina. But then he said, like, a lot of law schools really just want to teach you about the law themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think when you come into law school, if you have these preconceived notions about what the law or the legal profession is or the legal industry is about, a lot of times you're just relearning stuff the correct way rather than just allowing law school to teach you what they actually know.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely right. I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't rush learning the law. You have 3 years to, I mean, trust me, you're going to be reading a lot. You don't have a choice once you're in school. So I really
Like
wouldn't rush
read.
it. Yeah, I wouldn't rush college, like trying to already be in law school. Like just do what you are supposed to do while you're there, and you have plenty of time to do the work. Trust me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And we've got some more good questions on here. Okay,
For
so
sure.
Infinite Toning, I hope I'm saying that right, says, I'm so glad you're talking about this. And Janie Lee 616 has a really good question. She says, what are your thoughts on Kim Kardashian wanting to break into law, being a lawyer, skipping law school, and just taking the bar? So
Why'd
this
you
is
have to
interesting.
ask this question?
I think it's a great question though, because it's something I got asked as soon as I won Miss USA.
I
People
know.
were like, "So
It's
what do you
such
think
an
about?"
on-stage question answer,
Oh, for sure.
or on-stage question, right? It's like I haven't had to
Mhm.
do one of these in a long time. Um, my honest thoughts are that, you know, I think that the school process exists for a reason. You know, we've had, you know, in the law, there's this thing called precedent. It means like what comes before, and the law and, you know, our practices come from that precedent. And I mean, the precedent with law school is that you attend, you go, you learn, you get hazed, you have to defend your
What it feels
points,
like.
you work with colleagues, you know, all of those things. Hey, Asa, all of those things do prepare you for, you know, uh, practicing the law. I mean, in law school, you know, those 3 years, you come out and you even still feel like you're not ready. So
Oh
to me,
God,
it's
yeah.
like, how much more behind is she going to be with the real practice of law, not doing it the traditional way? And, you know, like more power to her. I respect her ambition. And, you know, just from the point of justice, I'm happy that there is a person that has the means and the platform that's using it in this way. She can't, you know, she can do things that I can't do, you know, so I'm very thankful for that. But if she really wants to be a lawyer, you know, I'm sure Kim's very smart. Her dad was a lawyer. I would like to see her go through the traditional process just to, you know, get it the traditional way.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
hope that I said that. Okay.
You did. It's your opinion. You can't say it wrong.
Right.
And a little bit of background for people who are a little unfamiliar. I think I'm getting this correctly because I took the bar in North Carolina and South Carolina. And a lot of states are moving towards doing a uniform bar exam, where you would take the same bar in a state and then have like a small state specific portion after you're done with the bar. So beyond that, beyond the states that have the UBE, the uniform bar, there are some states that still have state-specific bars, and California is one of them. And it's my understanding that in California, you do not have to graduate from an accredited law school in order to sit for the bar. And if that's true, and I believe that it is, I think that's one of the reasons why the passage rate in California is so low, because I think going to a law school prepares you for the practice of law and prepares you to take and pass the bar exam. But I think it's really cool that Kim Kardashian has such a strong interest in the justice system and reform work that everybody needs to know about and more people are hearing about now.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah,
really
for
cool.
sure.
I'm excited for her. And full disclosure, I did some pro bono work with Brittany Barnett, who is of the Buried Alive Project, who has worked with Kim Kardashian. So I've never met Kim, but worked with somebody who has helped her with some of the criminal justice reform work and pro bono work that she's done. And just hearing about her through that source has been incredible. I love that she has the passion for the work. And I'm like, you want to go to law school? More power to you, because it's not fun. Or not even just go to law school, really. Be a lawyer. It is challenging work. You guys have some really great questions on here. I'm going back a little bit.
They do.
So I saw Asa on here. And Jamie Lee followed up and said she was just on oxygen. Kim Kardashian was just on oxygen the other night, and she says it was really interesting. She did have a documentary on oxygen, which is cool. Okay. But Fashion Buzzing has a great question. You guys are on it. Okay, so Fashion Buzzing says, how do you think this coronavirus pandemic will affect the legal profession? And what does that mean for people applying in the next few years? Whew. Well, wow, what a question. Because I think it has and will continue to affect the legal profession. Yeah. We found ways that we can't even really predict yet. Right. I think, like, just speaking from like my law firm, I've taken a 1-year leave of absence from my law firm, but I still have our firm's cell phone, and so I still get emails. And so everybody from my firm has been working from home. We've had to adjust how we accept and receive mail, how we sign pleadings, how we get documents out, how we interact with clients. The Supreme Court Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, Justice Sherry Beasley, has issued certain directives, delaying deadlines, allowing a grace period for people. And so I think that there are so many things that all of us have had to do in order to adjust. And the legal profession itself, not only have we had to adjust how we're delivering advice, but I mean, we're going to have to sort of navigate this almost alongside our clients while people ask us for advice on how to conduct their businesses. And so I think it's been really, really interesting seeing this whole thing unfold and seeing how law firms are able to navigate the pandemic right now. What do you think, Lex? Because you're working from home now.
Yeah, well, I work from home a good amount, thankfully, so this isn't too different for me, but it's been really strenuous on the company. And I mean, the legal profession is one of counsel. I mean, and just like the basic, foundation of it is a consultation, like a helping hand, someone you can go to and communicate. And I think that is going to look very different. At least right now it looks different, and I hope that it doesn't look too different in the future, but we have no way of knowing what that's going to be like. But right now, certainly no one's going into a law office and sitting down and getting a consultation right now. So, it already looks different. Hopefully, everybody's doing the best they can to, be that, warm voice of counsel on the other end of the phone or the other side of the screen or what have you. But, it already looks different. And I'm just really amazed at how it's affecting big law. Like, just to hear the layoffs or, salary cuts or, everything is just really being affected right now. There's no industry that isn't being affected by the virus. So law and all of us are going to have to respond, however we can. We're going to have to be agile to still, be humans, but serve the needs of the people that we serve. And I think that that's a challenge that lawyers will be able to handle because they already want to help people already. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
The curls.
See, this is why you win interviews everywhere you go. Okay, so I'm getting some people submitting questions through the little question submission box thing. And some of these are really good. I think I'm going to pull one of these. Here, I like this one. This is a good one. Okay, so one of these questions, like, guys, I have to say, if you want your questions answered, submit them in the little question box because it's so easy to sort through them. All right, so this question is, what are the qualities needed to be an attorney? Which is a pretty general question, but I think it's something that people ask quite frequently.
Yeah. Are you answering first or am I?
Go ahead.
Yikes. I would say, like, if we start with just like maybe, I don't know what to call them, like academic qualities or, qualities that come through in your work, but attention to detail, huge. That's like one of the biggest things. I cannot stress how important that is. That can be literally the make or break difference for anything. A missed checkbox, a wrong number, a wrong date. that can send anything into a tailspin. Anything in a contract that's hidden that you miss, that, I mean, that can be the whole deal. And that's the whole point of our profession, is to be that person that catches those mistakes and make sure that we're serving our clients in the best way possible. So attention to detail, attention to detail. I can't say that enough. I'll stop there because that's a huge one. In terms of your personal, yeah, I'm just going to say that. In terms of your personal, you know, qualities, like your personal characteristics, I think tenacity for me, it was tenacity just to get through law school, to get through the bar exam. I had to take it twice. And oh my God, like, I don't mean that to be a segue into the bar exam question by any means, but I had to take it twice. So I mean, you have to be able to be knocked down and to stand back up. You have to be able to get the question wrong and to be willing to keep trying. You have to be willing to not understand the case the first time and read it again. And I think if you don't have that grit and that tenacity, it'll be difficult for you. So I'll stop talking now.
Well, I think you had a good question that a lot of people have actually asked about the bar exam. And you and I have talked about our experiences with the bar, and it's just not fun. It's just one of those things you just have to do. And it's not cool. But you've talked about the difference between the first time and the second time that you took it. And one of the questions here was, what was your bar exam study schedule like? So what were the differences for you?
So the difference for me was the first time, I don't think I really paid attention to how I learn. I think I was listening to the professionals that the school had hired and, you know, looking at my peers, and everybody seemed to be able just to read the book and do the questions and get it, right? And that's never how I learn. And I don't know why I like forgot that, like all these years of school, and I get to the last part and I forget how I take tests all of a sudden. Like, that's crazy. But that's exactly what happened. And I just didn't stay true to myself. And the first time I was trying to memorize material and do things that weren't natural to me. The second time I took the test into my own hands, which I think was the best advice I gave myself. I was like, okay, you already failed this one time. You're not going to be taking the bar exam 3 or 4 times. That's just not in your spirit. That's not what God has for you. We're passing it this time. So amen. We're coming to get it. Thank you so much. So I completely just did it my way. I bought those big Post-it notes that you put on your wall, rewrote my outlines, like quiz myself. Like if there was a part of the material that I wasn't getting, I like dove into it. I read the law, read the law.
Which guys
made sure I understood what that shit meant. I made sure I understood what it meant. You know, and
exactly.
I really took it into my own hands the second time, and I think that that's what made all the difference. Not everybody learns the same, and that's really important to figure out as early as you can, because if you're trying to study like your friends study and you don't study like that, you don't retain information like they do, it's not going to work for you, and you'll be wondering why they pass and you don't, and it's because you're trying to run a race in a lane that's not your lane. So you have to just be true to yourself all the way through. And I think that made the difference for real.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a great point, because I think for me, I had to do the same in that early on when I was studying, one of the, like, we had sort of I don't even remember really what his role was. It was somebody who was sort of helping all of us take the bar. And he was part of the staff, and he was just really, really helpful. And I remember he brought in an advisor, and she said, you are either flashcards or you are outlines, and you need to figure that out now. Because, and that was great, because to that point in time, like I was like, everybody told me make flashcards. So I was like, okay, I've got all these flashcards, but I don't know, I need big picture things. I don't understand how all this is fitting together. And she was like, flashcards or outlines, you pick now. That you don't have any time to mess around with this anymore. Which one? And I was like, I'm outlines. I can't do flashcards. They don't help me. And I think I think you're totally right in that it helps to just know this is how I study and this is how I learn. And that's fine if people learn differently, but this is what I need. And I think it made a huge difference for me. Just
understand. Why was she so aggressive though?
Because I think at that point in time, it was like, it wasn't late in the game, but it was getting there. And so I remember telling her, I was like, but I love doing flashcards. And so she was like, where are your flashcards? And I pulled out my flashcards. I was like, see here, I have them. She was like, and are you caught up? And I was like, no. I'm like 3 units behind. She was like, you don't learn with flashcards. So you need to put those away because I'm not playing with all y'all not passing
Ditch
the bar.
the flashcards, guys.
You got to figure it out. So I think
Unless
that
that's how you learn.
yeah, it helps how you learn. And I think in addition to that, it helps to not psych myself out and understand that like everybody's going to have a breakdown. Like if you're studying for the bar, there's going to be a point in time where like you stop for a day and just sob uncontrollably because you're so stressed about not passing. For me, I had like my law firm gave me an offer and they said, you know, contingent upon passing the bar, you will start on set. And so I was like, so what happens if I don't pass?
That contingent part got real heavy on the contingent.
Girl, right? And you don't want to be the one to like call up and be like, so what happens if I don't pass? Like, you know, what are they going to tell you? Don't worry about it. Just make sure you do. So you have to just make sure that, you know, you don't psych yourself out. You don't stress. Just know that you're going to have a breakdown. It's going to happen at some point in time. Just move past it and keep working really hard. All right.
I remember checking on Cheslie when she was studying for the bar exam and just being like, okay, girl, you got it. Like 90 more days. Like, she got off all social media. It's like, I missed her so much. And I was like,
yes.
Hey girl, here's this really funny meme that I found. You don't have to respond. Like, it's fine. Just let me know if you're okay.
See, having good friends who understand. Because she's right. Like both times I took the North Carolina bar, I took the South Carolina bar. And both times, like I shut down my blog when I took South Carolina. I like logged off of Instagram. I changed my password. I had another one of my friends, Bree, change the password so that I literally could not log in. Like I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not spending hours a day on social media. No. And I'm glad. Because
now look at us.
For my life. Yeah. Okay, somebody else, Ryan on here says I can't do flashcards. This is so relatable. Yeah, I could not. Like it just took realizing that. Okay, there was a really good question that somebody submitted on this question thing. I'm gonna pull it up. Okay. Oh, this is from Misha. Okay, good. Misha says, as Black women, what are some difficulties you face that other lawyers may not have? This is a great question. You guys have really good questions this session.
Ooh, girl.
What do you think?
I'm exhausted already just from this question.
Lord knows. What's that song? Dun, dun, I'm tired.
There's so many tired songs.
Yeah.
So many songs. I guess I'm going. Yikes. I mean, let's just be honest. Let me figure out how exactly to be honest. You know, sometimes there's a lack of respect, not only because you're Black, but because you're a woman. Sometimes, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's there no matter what you do. In a lot of spaces, and in the role that I'm transitioning out of, and a lot of the spaces I found myself in, I was often the only woman, the youngest, and the most educated. And let me tell you, like, that will get you skipped over raising your hand every time. Like, people will just completely disengage, or, you know, not want to hear what you have to say, or almost like, I mean, I've almost been asked to get like coffee, and I've been asked to be like the scribe in meetings instead of, you know, the main contributor. And I'm like, no, wait, I'm not scheduling this meeting. I'm attending this meeting. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that you were confused. But I think that you just have to.
Big energy.
Yo, this is how me and Cheslie talk, just like normal. I want you to know that. I mean, so you just have to know, I think, what it is that you're walking into. Like the legal profession and business is still very dominated by men, still very dominated by white men. There's no question about that. So I think that you have to have a thick skin, you know, hopefully that you've been developing over all those years of having your grit and your tenacity, like we talked about earlier, to where when you get in those situations, you're not thrown off. Instead, you're almost like, okay, actually, you know what? They think that I'm the scribe. Let me make sure that they are aware that I, you know, went to school for this. You know, you have to demand your space. You have to not only demand your space, but take up your space. So when you do get the opportunity to speak in those rooms, you need to come correct and make sure that you know what you're talking about, make sure that you're professional. You know, my mom always told me that we as Black women have to be better, just better. If someone's on top of their stuff, you have to be even more on top of theirs. Like, you have to be there earlier, stay there later, do all of the things. in order to cement your space and wherever it is that you want to be. So
Mhm.
I was raised with that energy, and I project that energy, I believe. And I just think as Black women, you have to have that, because no one's going to hand it to us. We have to go
Mhm.
get it ourselves. And that's how it's always been. And, you know, I think we're demanding our respect more. So we're getting it. And I'm really happy about that.
I agree. I agree. And I think if people wanted to actually visually see what it looks like to be a Black female attorney in the legal
Right.
industry, all you have to do is log onto the websites of a few top 100 law firms and check out how many of the partners in that law firm are Black women, because you just don't see that. You don't see very many minority attorneys, very many female attorneys who are rising to the upper ranks of law firms, especially partnership. And I think the same goes for many businesses as well. I think right now, is there one or none Black female CEOs of Fortune 500
I
companies?
think there's one right now, and
Okay.
I think she's new, but I'm not sure exactly who she is at the moment.
Yeah, because I think when Ursula left Xerox, I think there were none at some point in time. And so if you look at businesses, if you look at law firms, if you're looking at leadership and success, you don't see very many people who look like us there. And that's a problem.
Right.
And it's something that firms everywhere are dealing with, and they're dealing with it way too slowly. And it is very frustrating, especially because not only is it difficult as a new attorney to voice your concerns about the lack of diversity, but you don't have the privilege of being an individual. So I can't walk into a law firm and be mad about the lack of diversity, because then I'm the angry Black woman. You know, you're constantly trying to like break the stereotype, because people automatically stereotype you and expect you to speak for the rest of your race or the rest of the female gender. And it's very, very frustrating to not be that angry person all the time while still trying to fight for progress. So I think that's a great question. Oh, and there are a ton of people on here. Okay, so let me scroll back through some of you guys' comments. Lorraine says there's also such a thing as being too good. What do we do then? I mean, yeah, you can end up intimidating people, which can be quite frustrating.
If you're scared,
Matthew's on here. Say that. Matthew's on here. Matthew says, "Hey, Lex and Cheslie, love you guys. Love you too, Matthew." I love all these big lawyer energy comments. In fact, I'm going to pin this one there. That's what this that's what this discussion is about. Big lawyer energy. So that's a better comment. Okay, let me scroll down, because you guys have a ton of questions on here.
Hey,
Thank
plus
you for
transportation.
You what?
Hey, plus transportation.
Plus transportation? Wait.
Hey, Timmy.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There are people on here. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to pull up this question thing and see if I can find some more. Oh, this is a cool one.
Matt Mitchell, what's that?
All right, J4 has been submitting a ton of questions, and so I'm going to pick one of these ones. All right, this person says, how does fashion fit with being in court? Is it a consideration? What do you think, Lex?
I think this is a really good question for you.
Me and my blog. Check out my blog, whitecollarglam.com. Get my views up. It's amazing. But yes, I think that it is. And I think that especially in the South, courtrooms can be incredibly stuffy. I remember commenting there's this giant Facebook group called Pantsuit Nation. And I think it's got like 1 million people in it or something. It's huge. And I remember I talked about this experience while I was at Miss USA. There was a judge in a moot court competition I did who told me that I should wear a skirt instead of the pantsuit that I was wearing, because male judges prefer to see women in skirts, which is just creepy. And it was even more creepy and weird because it was a Black woman who told me this. And I was like, ain't you supposed to be for the people? Like, it was weird. Yeah, right? I was like, huh, but I think it goes to show you that, like, it's not just men who end up, sort of breaking progress and stopping progress. Women can be part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
So I remember posting this story in this Facebook group, Pantsuit Nation, and it got like 30,000 likes. There were so many comments, and there were women in those comments who shared very similar stories.
Isn't that scary?
Like, yes, it was so scary. There was somebody in there who said she didn't wear pantyhose to court one day, so the judge kicked her out and was like, I'm not going to hear your case until you come in here professionally dressed. And she's like, I'm not wearing pantyhose. This is professional. Like, what do you mean? You can wear pantyhose or you cannot. And so I think it is a really big consideration, especially because like the legal industry altogether is already very conservative. And then when you add court on top of that, when you're not in like a business that can be more progressive, when you add like Yeah, it's just even worse. So I hope that courtrooms, you know, across our nation will start being a little bit more fashion friendly
Right.
when it comes to what we wear. Sorry, my phone's dying. When it comes to what we wear and what we're allowed to wear, because
Yeah.
and I think that part of that problem will change more when we see more diversity and more people, more women especially, who are like, yes, you can wear red nail polish. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're that distracted, maybe you're the issue and not her.
Yeah,
So
maybe
that's
you
really,
should
really
be
good.
working.
Yeah. Maybe you should be listening to the words coming out of my mouth instead of worrying about my nails all the time. But whatever, just me. Okay, so wow, there are tons of people. What is this? Go Lomo David says I'm getting
Hey,
smarter by the
Coco. I know all these
minute.
people.
Thank you.
I think this is my first live ever, so people are probably like, "What is happening on
Oh,
on
really?
today?"
Oh, but this
Yeah.
is a killer live because you've got great content, girl. I'm saying, like, all of the amazingness coming out of your mouth. Okay, so I'm scrolling back on this question thing. There are so many more questions. Okay. Advice about applying to law school and LSAT advice. Okay. Let's do this one because there were a lot of people who Gabinista says, please pick my question. What was your question, girl? Let me go back on here. Gabinista. It must have been a good. I'm crossing my fingers that you've got a good question on here, Gabinista.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. Gabinista is asking about Black women. Are there rules about appropriate work hair? I actually
Oh,
have
girl.
an article on my blog. So if you go on White Collar Glam and type in, is natural hair appropriate for the workplace? I spoke all about this. I hope you read it. And I'm trying to get my clicks up. That's why I'm advertising here. But Lex, what's your input on this one?
My goodness. So I
On the
love
hair
this
question first.
question.
This one.
Wait, hair question?
Yeah, hair question, real brief, and then this question.
I believe that the hair that comes out of your head should be the hair that you wear to work. It's as simple as that. If anybody has an issue with it, that's between, you know, them and God, honestly. But
I
I
need all of your words on a t-shirt. That's between them and God.
it is. I just like I've never cared that much. But you know, I understand all of the things that go into black hair and how mesmerizing it is. It's amazing. It's very versatile. It's beautiful. It's gold. I understand the allure. But in the office it can get very distracting. So any advice, I would just say rock it. And there are lots of people that'll love it. Just try not to let it get too distracting. And if people touch your hair, it is okay to tell them to please not. Even in the office. Even in the office. And if this has happened to you and you want a way to tell people how not to touch you without being sent to HR, please send me a DM. I can let you know the way to say it so that you are not hostile, but that you no longer have a hand like this in your roots. Because it's happened to me. It's happened to Cheslie.
Yep.
So I'll stop now.
Yeah, and it's weird every time, and it's not okay, and it's okay to be angry inside when people do something like that, and it's okay to say something. And obviously, Lex is really tact when it has a lot of tact when it comes to explain to people why it's not okay to touch your hair, especially when I don't know you when you're at work. Whatever. Okay, so we've got time for one more question, and I already picked it. It's a question below. What is your advice about applying to law school? Because there were a ton of undergrad students asking questions about applying to law school.
So I would be very realistic with yourself. I would look at where you are with your scores. I would look at not only that, but what you can afford. Law school is very expensive, and I think that not enough of us think, Cheslie, I think not enough of us think about the loans that you're going to have to take out on the front end. But when you see it on the back end, it's really frightening. And you're like, how did I do this? Was I drugged? Like, who decided this? Like, so I think you really need to like be honest with yourself and try to think with the forward view. In 7 years, with what I think I want to do, is this school and how much it's going to cost going to be a good investment for me? I think we need to start thinking smarter about the loans we take out in this country for education. I think that you need to apply to where you want to go, apply to where you think you can get in, and maybe apply to a school where you're probably going to have a good shot, because it's a numbers game, it's a timing game, it's a scores game. It's so loaded. But I think that if you want to apply, don't let how scary it is to discourage you. There are a lot of resources, and a lot of schools will waive application fees. A lot of schools will assist you if needed. So just do it if you want to, but be honest with yourself.
I totally agree. Literally, my job this whole time has just been nodding to all the advice that you have for people, because I just agree with everything. But I think she's right. I think so. My application process for law school was a lot different than my application process for undergrad. And that for undergrad, I knew that I was going to go to law school, so I wanted a place that was affordable because I knew I was going to have another 3 years. Ended up having 4 years after undergrad to pay for. So I applied to literally one school for undergrad, and I got in, thank God, because that would have been awkward if not. And but for law school, I applied to 11. I was like, this is the last time I'm going to be attending, having formal schooling. Let me just spread my wings and apply to a bunch of places. But mainly I knew I wanted to live and practice in North Carolina. So I selected a North Carolina law school, which you don't have to do. But I just thought it would be good to, while I was in law school, focus on internships in the state, start developing my professional network in the state. And that was a lot easier done when I'm going to law school in the state. Not impossible to do if I was out of state, but I just figured it'd be easier. And it was. And so I ended up, getting a job with the law firm, interning with a law firm in North Carolina, and then accepting a law firm job in North Carolina. So just think, about the law schools, what you're interested in. Different law schools have different things that they're really, really good at. Like Wake Forest is known for its clinics are excellent. We have a really good trial team experience because we've got two or three different trial teams that we have. We have like a really good moot court team. So our trial advocacy is excellent. And at Wake Forest, like half of students stay in state and half the students leave. So just knowing all of that, knowing what you want to get out of your law school, knowing where you want to practice is all really, really important when you're applying to law school. And then on top of that, making sure that you do your due diligence and actually study really hard for the LSAT, position yourself well with your personal statements. Don't just say what you think that law schools want to hear, because you'll end up standing out more if you have unique personal statements and unique reasons why you want to practice and why you want to go to law school. I mean, we could teach a clinic.
We could do a part 2 of this, I feel like.
Yeah, we really could. It just explain to you guys all the different things that go into applying to law school, because it is a big decision. But high level, that's the advice we've got. So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for all of your questions. There's so many people who have joined this. Southern Perlita. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Nice comments, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks Lex for joining us. Guys, I gotta tell you, Lex is, I was gonna say the man, but she's the lady. My girl. So
love
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll see you later. Talk to you soon,
okay,
girl.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Obviously, Lex was incredible per usual. She is a lawyer and a compliance officer at Wells Fargo, Fortune 500 company. She's incredible. If you have more specific questions for her, feel free to DM her. She's super sweet. I mean, like I said, she and I met because we were supposed to do a pageant together, and then we just connected on social media and have been friends ever since. So she's incredible. Many thanks again to her for joining, and thanks to all of you guys for your really great questions and comments. I'll see you guys next time on Thursday.